Hello there, welcome to lesson number 6 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create earrings. In today's lesson we're going to show you how you can use a Bezier curve and a Bezier circle to make a earring. So if you'd like to start up FluidDesigner, we need to go to Learning Projects, Jewellery Projects, Earrings, and we're doing lesson number 6, so it's 06. It's the lathing shape earring. So if you just drag and drop that object onto the workspace, I'll just switch on the screencast key, so any key presses I make should be displayed in the lower corner here, and just remind you that in the help panel all the instructions on how to do this lesson, and also if you just refresh the window here by clicking Group Library. If you go to 3D templates and cross sections, this object is essentially the 01 circle cross section object. The only difference is this has got probably a few more control points, and you can always add control points by just clicking the right mouse button and subdivide. You do need to select more than one control point to subdivide. You can't do it with just one selected. But it's essentially that object there. So what are we going to do in this lesson? Well, first of all, let's just measure the size of this object. So if I just come out of edit mode, I'm just pressing the tab key on the keyboard to come out of edit mode, and if I just scroll along the toolbar, here's the interactive ruler, and we can see that the height of this object by default is set to 38 millimeters. So that's 1, 2, 3, pretty much 4 centimeters. We're in centimeters at the moment here. So that gives you an idea of the size of this object. You can obviously make it much smaller than what it is at the moment, or you can make it bigger, just depending upon your own requirements. So if we just press the tab key now with the Bezier curve, this is the Bezier curve on the left hand side highlighted. The Bezier curve now, I'm trying to move it, but as you can see, it's moving in a slightly sort of funny way. It's only jumping 1 centimeter at a time. Now the reason for that is the snap is on. This icon here, the magnet, is the snap feature, and you do have to use the snap usually with the increment. So if you select snap, if you switch snap on, you also usually need to select increment as well. So at the moment the snap is on, and what the snap does is it only jumps 1 unit at a time, and that 1 unit in this instance is centimeters. Because the centimeter grid is in place, it will only open up 1 centimeter at a time, and that's pretty dramatic. But if we zoom in, so I'm just holding down, I'm just scrolling the center mouse button. Once we zoom in, you can see we can now move in increments of millimeters, because we've adjusted the grid, or rather the grid is adjusted automatically to millimeters when you've zoomed in. So to get control over this object and to reshape it, you're going to need to zoom in so that you can manipulate it more closely. So as you can see, we can change this object to any kind of shape that we want, and you can play around to your heart's content there, and get any kind of shape for your earring that you require. If you wanted to do it, I'm just going to go to view and front. It's usually a good idea when manipulating these objects to be in the front ortho view. That gives you a good idea of what the real profile of this object is going to be. So you can just modify it until you get an earring shape that you actually like. If you wanted to set these control points to particular locations, it is possible to type in values here. So we could, for instance, change the Y value to exactly 15 millimeters. And the X to exactly -5 millimeters if you wanted particular locations, but that's actually the location of the control point. It's not the location of this point at the edge of the object itself, so you do need to be aware of that. If I just come out of edit mode at the moment, if I just press the tab key, I just measure this. Here's the center line. So if I just measure out from the center line, you'll see that that's actually 5.6 millimeters there, approximately. And if I just go back into edit mode, you'll see that says -5. So these values don't correspond exactly in this instance, because I've deliberately left this Bezier curve away from the object itself, so as not to confuse you in this lesson. If you go to the cross sections up here and load them, you'll find that the Bezier curve does fit neatly exactly on the side of the object. So in these lessons I've deliberately put the Bezier curve away from the object. You can see it's exactly the same profile as the object, the Bezier curve, but I've deliberately moved it away just while you're learning how to use these objects. So these values don't correspond exactly here, but they will do if you use 3D templates. Now once you're happy with the shape that you've got, I'm not saying that that's great in any way, but it'll do for now, you can come out of edit mode, and the main body of this object is actually made up of a Bezier curve, a circle. So the main body is a Bezier circle, which is a curve, and we must change that to a mesh before we can possibly print it. So once you're happy with the profile, you don't want to change the profile anymore, highlight the main body of the object itself, go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh, and you'll see the colour change. Now if we highlight the Bezier curve on the left hand side there and press the tab key to go into edit mode, as is normal, we can't change the profile anymore now. Adjusting the Bezier curve doesn't have any effect on the main body of the object, the Bezier circle, because they're not connected anymore once we've converted this from a curve to a mesh. So if I just press the tab key to come out of edit mode, with the Bezier curve highlighted, I can press X on the keyboard and delete that object. Okay, so this is going to be the earring, and what we want to do now is we're going to put a base in the bottom of it, and then we're going to put some holes in the top here where you can put a clip through. So if we just rock it backwards, and if I just point the mouse at the bottom of the object and just scroll the center mouse button, I can zoom in. So I want to fill this space at the bottom, and the way we do that is we go into edit mode with the tab key, and at the moment what this is telling me, the view that I've got at the moment, is I can select the vertices. That's the dots in the corner of the faces. What I want to do is I want to select this edge around the bottom. So if I click the right mouse button, I need to change selection mode. It's currently in vertex select. I need to change it to edge select. And so if I just zoom in a little bit further, if I click on there, you'll see that you'll probably just see that I'm selecting one edge at a time. I want to select the whole rim of this object, and I can do that in FluidDesigner by, if I hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and then point at an edge and click the mouse, you'll see that I've highlighted the whole of the rim around the bottom of the object. That's what I need to do, and now I want to fill that in, and we do that by adding a face. So F to fill in a face, and that's filled in the bottom of the earring now. So we haven't got any gap at the bottom. Now we could have left a gap at the bottom, just showing you how you can fill it in, however. Now if we go to view and view it from the front, and what I want to do now, view it from the front again. What I want to do now is to delete some of these faces here, so that we can make way for a clip, an earring clip, to go through the finished object. So I'm currently in edge select mode, so I can select edges. I need to switch now to face select mode because I want to delete these 4 faces. So again, we click the right mouse button, go to selection mode, and go to face select. And so what I want to do is I want to highlight one, and now I need to hold down the shift key here, So highlight one face, two faces, three faces, four faces. Yeah, four faces. And so I did that by holding down the shift key, and I want to delete all those four faces, and we do that in FluidDesigner by pressing X on the keyboard and delete the faces. And as you can see that there is a different colour now. Now what this is we have created a hole in the front of this object, but we do need to delete the faces at the back as well if we want our earring clip to go right through. So if we just go to view and front again, so what we need to do is to delete these four faces on the back of the object. So hold down the shift key and select all four faces, and then X on the keyboard and delete those faces. So there we are, we've created a hole right through the object there. We've got a base in the bottom. So we can come out of edit mode now, so press the tab key to come out of edit mode. Now the next thing, the final thing we've got to do really, well before we go and test the mesh in NetFab Basic, is we've got to add some thickness to this. This is just a shell at the moment, it's got no thickness. So what we need to do is in the properties window, if we click on the spanner icon, that's the modifiers, what we need to do is add a modifier, and we're going to add a solidify modifier, and we're going to add a thickness of just 1 millimeter. We don't want to make this too thick. -1 offsets it on the inside of the object, and we just have a look around. Yeah, so it's created a thickness of 1 millimeter for this object. That'll be thick enough, and we need to now apply this. And so the way to confirm this modifier is to go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh again. The modifier then disappears. So there's our finished object, and so what we need to do is to save it. So we go to File, and as is always the case in FluidDesigner, we recommend you go to Save As and scroll up through the menu system and look for My Projects, Jewellery Projects, Earrings, and we want to save 06, it's this lathing shape earring. Save that as a Blender file. Now we can't print Blender files, so we need to export it in a suitable printable format. So if we go to File and Export, we like to use the Wavefront OBJ format, and we save that to the desktop. So it's 06 lathing shape earring OBJ. And then what you always need to do when using FluidDesigner, you always need to go to NetFab Basic, go to Project, and open the project from the desktop. So it's 06 lathing shape earring, and NetFab will analyze the mesh and see if there are any issues, any problems with it. There's no warning red triangle, but we would always recommend that you go to Extras and repair the part. And what NetFab has done is it's triangulated the mesh. You'll see the face that we put in at the bottom is now lots and lots of triangles. So that's what NetFab has done. It's also triangulated all of these faces. It's just basically put a line across each of the faces that were there, and that's required for printing. If we just move the window across, if you just click on the update button, you'll see there are no issues. There's no border edges, no orientation, no holes. But always run repair and execute and apply the repair and remove the old part. And then you just need to save this. So go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, export it to the desktop, and it's the file 06 lathing shape earring repaired, and that file is now in a printable file format. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.